Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Beyond the Sugarcoat. I'm Diane. This space was born from my journey of life's ups and downs. Beyond the Sugarcoat is for real, honest conversations about the things we usually keep behind a smile. We talk about grief, illness, heartbreak, transformation, and healing, things that shape us but aren't shared often. You will hear stories from people who walked through fire and found their way forward through discussions, interviews, and personal reflections. We will explore mindfulness, creativity, community, and something close to my heart, spiritual growth. This includes Vedic astrology, ancient myths, and timeless wisdom. This is Beyond the Sugarcoat because life isn't always sweet. But when we're real and honest with ourselves, that's when we truly connect. So if you're carrying something heavy, looking for inspiration, or just curious about peeling back life's deeper layers, this space is for you. You're not alone. Others are sharing their stories, and they might just light the way. So please hit the subscribe button, share this with someone who might need it, and join us every week as we dive into the beautiful, messy, powerful truth of what it means to be human. Thank you. I certainly have a story. You have a story. Everyone has a story. When I was growing up, I did judge people a lot. But what really has catapulted me to doing this is the events that happened to us last year.
Was it kind of leading up to like the things that happened over your lifetime that you're like, it's okay to be vulnerable?
It's definitely okay to be vulnerable.
I know there is this taboo thing.
How did you feel when I got diagnosed? Sometimes being weak doesn't make you weak. How do you find out? You find out from your friends or experimenting on your own, which is quite dangerous. You have two choices to make. You can shut your mouth and go back and take it, or you can leave. And my mom said, leave. Beyond the Sugarcoat.
Welcome to Beyond the Sugarcoat. Hey, Sugar fam.
Hi, everyone. And I want to introduce you to my lovely, beautiful, only daughter, Anjali. She has decided to grace me with the show here and there, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm hoping she'll be more here than there. So with that, I'll give her the floor.
Hi everyone, really excited to be here. I think this is going to be a really neat journey to see, and I'm glad that we can be being able to do something like this. You don't see a lot of mother-daughters that get to do an opportunity like this, and so when you asked me, do you want to do a show like this? My questions were like, okay, so why do you want to do this to begin with? And what made you say yes?
I've always been someone who likes to communicate with people, and I've always loved people. And I would see people walking by and always be curious about their lives because I knew everyone had a story. And I certainly have a story. You have a story. Everyone has a story. And I would actually stop and talk to people and find out about their lives. And I would learn a lot because there's a lot more to these people than just them being a stranger in the street. And now that I've hit the time where, I'm getting closer to not living than living in years, that I want to make something meaningful with my life, especially if I get the opportunity to take you guys through my life. Maybe I can help somebody. If I help one person, I think I would feel good that I was able to do something. But I want other people to know that you can get to the other side of being better.
Yeah, and it's funny you say, like if someone was in a bus and you're wondering what their life was like. I know sometimes when we're like in the mall and we're people watching, or at the gym and we're just watching people go about their lives, or even when you're sounds creepy, even when you're like walking by their house and you're like peeking into their window and the lights are on, you're like, oh, I wonder what their life is like. And I think it's interesting because we see a lot of people may act a certain way or do certain things, and we kind of start to judge them. But there's so much behind the scene that there may be a certain way or things that happened in their life that made them do whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's something we may not even have thought of. So it's hard to judge.
And it's funny that you brought up the word judged, because I did have this conversation with a friend last week. And I feel like when I was growing up, I did judge people a lot on things. Like I would judge people whose kids wouldn't stop talking. Like, why can't they keep their kids to stop? And then I had 3 of my own, and I realized, oh my God, now I know why they couldn't do it, because I wasn't in their shoe at the time. Or, you would judge people, especially coming from the culture that we're at, Indian culture, we're very judgmental, and as well as other groups are just as judgmental too, but I can speak from our own. And it's very easy to judge people. But when you get to go in their shoes, or you go through your own shoes of journey where you're getting judged, it's a different story.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so what kind of made you decide to do this? Like, what was the one thing, or was it multiple things that you were finally like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, I know growing up I'd always watch you talk to people, and I was very much introverted, and you would wonder why I didn't talk. But what was the opportunity or the moment where you were like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'm going to start looking up how to do this, and let's do it together.
It's something I wanted to do probably back in 2017, right after I got diagnosed with breast cancer. I was like, I got inspired by the guy who made that show,
Oh, Humans of New
Humans
York.
of New York. Yes, I can't remember his name, but I know the kids, you guys actually, or your brother saw him at UF when he went there. But I got inspired by him by telling people stories, and I'd always want to be like, well, what happened next? What happened next? Because their stories are always interesting. And it took me a while to get there because I was busy raising three kids. Your dad was traveling, running a household. It was difficult to take that time to do that. But what really has catapulted me to doing this is the events that happened to us last year. I am going through a divorce with your dad now after 25 years of being together. And I'm on my own. You're married. Your brothers are, off to college. And here I am alone. I moved in with my mom, but I am still alone. I'm like, what's next for me? I've done my dream of raising a family. I did go to school. I got my accounting degree. I did work, but like, what do I really want to do? And what I really want to do is share my stories with people.
Well, that definitely makes sense. I think there was a lot that happened over the past year, and I have seen you want to talk to people to have that kind of outlet and also like share your emotions. When did you think this was something that you wanted to be vulnerable in? Was it kind of leading up, like the things that happened over your lifetime that you're like, it's okay to be vulnerable? And like, how did you kind of cope with that?
It's definitely okay to be vulnerable, even though you don't feel it at the time when you're going through it. But when you get to the other side, you're like, damn, that was actually, it sucked, but I'm glad I went through that because I wouldn't be who I am where I am now. And I've gone through lots of tragedies. Your biological father died when you were only 5 months old. My father had just died 8 months before that, and I'm an only child, so I had to have the responsibility of my remaining parents. And then after your father died, you had to have open heart surgery a month later when you were 6 months old. Um, and there was a lot going on between there. And I was just 26 years old. And I don't know, I think you get through it day by day. I didn't know about therapy and I didn't believe in therapy at that time. It was that Indian pride of like, what would someone tell me that I don't know? They wouldn't understand me. So I didn't do therapy then. But I think what has helped me become more able to do this is because through this journey, going through a divorce with your dad, I have had a therapist and I have been doing therapy twice a week. And it's been since 2022, so almost 3 years
Yeah,
that I've
3 years.
been doing therapy with her. And that has really made me appreciate talk therapy and talking because I got to see that I am really not a weak person. I'm a pretty strong person. Even though I knew I was, I felt like I really found it more now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know there is this taboo thing of what are people going to think or what are people going to say if you act or do a certain thing. And I think that kind of relates to not only therapy, but also like the things you're going through. I know when people talk about therapy, they're like, oh, that's not something we do. Like you can just figure it out on your own or with whoever you're with that you're arguing with or going through something. Um, did you ever have that thought of what are people going to think or say when doing a kind of show like this?
Well, absolutely. What are people going to say? It was always something that I was ingrained with because from our culture, growing up, if you did something, oh, what are people going to say? If you have a boyfriend, what are people going to say? If you got a bad grade, what are people going to say? Someone else's kid is doing better. And I'm not saying that all necessarily happened to me, but I know it happened to my friends and it happened within our culture. And yes, and it was when your biological father died, that I realized I was on my own. the people that I had to worry about what they had to say weren't there for me. They were just busy talking and yapping. And I had to get through those steps by myself. So through time and life, I've learned not to worry about what other people have to say.
No, it's totally true. And I think that's something that, like, having you as a role model growing up, it stemming away from that more traditional mindset. Because now when I see like different things happening or I'm acting a certain way about certain scenarios, and other people are like, "Oh, what are people gonna think?" I mean, they're not paying my bills. They're not helping me when I'm sick. Like, I don't care what you have to say. I'm gonna do whatever is gonna be beneficial for whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And so going back to when you mentioned um, building that community or finding that community, that's actually something I noticed you did when you had breast cancer. So for some context, you had a Facebook, like your own Facebook profile, and when my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, she actually shared it on Facebook and continuously shared her journey and the things that she was going through, like getting chemotherapy and getting her PICC line put in, and
shaving my head.
Yeah, just cutting your hair ahead of time and then shaving your head afterwards and wearing a scarf and everything, even down to your last chemotherapy session. So you were someone who always kind of put it out there, but what was your thinking or your reasoning behind doing that?
So when I got breast cancer, I didn't really know anyone close to me that had breast cancer. I knew a mom in the community had passed away from breast cancer from your school community, but I didn't know anyone that had it. I didn't know how scary that experience was. I knew the word was scary, but the experience itself, and I couldn't find one person to go to that could tell me what I can do to get me through this. And you go to the doctors, they just use doctor jargon, doctor lingo. They also don't tell you the secret things you can do that may not be so conventional. So I found myself on Facebook on a breast cancer group, and I was really lucky because I found some wonderful ladies, some other pink sisters on there. They taught me, they educated me on what ER positive was and PR positive, words I didn't really even know about relating to breast cancer. Didn't even know there were 16 or more types of breast cancer you can have. So they really educated me. And it was really scary putting it on Facebook, to be honest, because there's multiple times I would put it on and I would take it off. I would put it on and take it off. And I remember one night I just said, the hell with it. I'm putting it on there. And I did. And that took a lot of guts for me. And once I had it out there and it was gone, it was just out there in space, it was done. I knew that I had to continue that journey.
But was it something where you were just putting it on to just share it? Like, not like, I don't want to say status, but like just share what was going on in your life? Or were you hoping that other people too would also see that and also wonder, hey, you didn't find your breast cancer like in a normal way with a mammogram. Like maybe I should be feeling myself up. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, I never really felt myself up because I was ignorant. I was like, it doesn't run in my family. My doctor does my annual and feels me up. I should be good. But that actually was not the case for me. So another time when we do decide to talk about the breast cancer episode, I can definitely go into more details. But I wanted other people to know, hey, Diane got breast cancer. She doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke. She's pretty healthy. She doesn't eat beef. She doesn't eat pork. She doesn't drink soda. Like, how could she get breast cancer? And if I could get it, anybody can get it. Right. And I'm so glad I did that because I had so many friends reach out to me and say, oh my God, because of this, I went and scheduled my mammogram. I'm actually getting myself checked out. What do I do? I've actually had someone say they did get breast cancer after my story came out, and I was able to walk them through it. And my other friends will turn to me as a source to help their friends who have breast cancer. So what a nice feeling that I can contribute back because I knew what it was like to have those women on Facebook help me.
No, that definitely makes sense.
I want to ask you a question. How did you feel when I got diagnosed with breast cancer? Because you were just in your second year of college.
Yeah, I have also learned therapy is a gift because I did not have that when I found out that you had breast cancer, when you were going through that stage. I was also in college, so I was going about school and also having to like deal with what it's like in my family, and also my brothers were super young, so it was really difficult. And I think over time we try to manage it the best we can, and you were vulnerable and you allowed us to be vulnerable. So if we were feeling scared or like worried, like we could come and talk to you, and you would also voice your fears to us too. Not It wasn't in anything that like was unhealthy. It was actually healthy, which most people wouldn't even think. Um, so I think it was scary, but going through what we went through in the last year and now being in therapy myself and watching you go through therapy, it's been super helpful because it is easier to talk about what you're going through and your feelings and having people you can reach out to talk to rather than just bottling it and eventually explodes later on.
Yeah, I have found that it does come back to catch people and nip them in the bud if they don't deal with their feelings, whether it's through therapy or not. But for me, I found therapy has helped a lot.
Yeah, no,
So,
definitely.
the other thing you were talking about being vulnerable, about me telling you guys how I felt when I was going through breast cancer. I've always been an emotional person, and I've never been the type to hide my feelings. And I don't know, telling you guys at the time, if it was right or wrong. I cried in front of you guys. I begged you guys to make sure you took care of your dad if something happened to me, and I was very vulnerable. I mean, but when I look at it, sometimes being weak doesn't make you weak. Showing your weakness actually makes you strong, because you're not afraid to show that I'm human. I don't need to put this front for my children to them to say, "Oh, mom's strong." It doesn't help my kids down the road, I don't think, mentally, to think that that's how life is.
Yeah, you said the word weakness. Like when you show your weakness, it's not showing your weakness, it's showing like you're actually strong. And so there's like this misconception that like the things you're going through, whether it's an illness or a breakup or a mental health illness, like that's a weakness, but it's actually something that makes you grow as a person and can help other people grow depending on how you expose it. But I think that also really was different for our relationship because even as like a parent child relationship, like there aren't many relationships that I know that are this close. um my friends would always constantly say like, "Oh, how can you talk to your mom about all these different topics?" And I'm like, "What do you mean you can't do that with your parents?" Like it felt natural to me. That's how we grew up, and you always exposed us to conversations early on. No topic was that taboo. So then when I come to you and want to talk about something, it's not like, "Oh my god, why are you thinking like that?" or "Where did you come up with that?" Like you
Yeah.
always were there to talk to us and guide us.
That was important to me, to have a very open relationship with my children, even on mature topics that maybe others didn't feel were appropriate. But for me, it was appropriate because it was life. And I just felt it was important to share it with you guys, because I grew up where, as a child, your parents didn't talk in front of you. You were never old enough to know anything. You were always considered too young to ever know anything. And how do you find out? You find out from your friends or experimenting on your own, which is quite dangerous, because I've experimented and put myself in dangerous situations. When I look back now, I'm like, oh my God, I would rather have my kids come to me and talk to me openly. And I know I've told you guys several times, I might be mad, I might be pissed, but I'd rather you tell me, because I will calm down. But the person who helps you in the end is going to be your parent, hopefully, right? So that was important to me. And yes, we do talk about taboo topics. We do talk about sexual topics between ourselves as mother and daughter, and some people might say that's taboo, but if I see my child struggling through something and I can offer advice, who better than the parent who's gone through something that, or especially a parent like me, I investigate everything to death. I research it till my fingers bleed. That's just my personality. And I am able to go open to talk to my friends and get ideas from them. So I'm able to share it with you. So I know it's uncomfortable for you when we first started like hitting on those kind of topics, but I think now you've come to be more comfortable with it.
Yeah, I definitely was very uncomfortable when I was in like high school and even college. I think it was more so in the last few years that I feel like I felt a lot more comfortable because I was also out there on my own. Like I graduated from school and I was living in a new city by myself, and like I was so much more exposed to different things around me in a new city that when I had something I was going through, like a breakup or dating, and I was like, who am I going to talk to? Like, who? I don't know. All my friends were off doing their own things. We were all in different cities and states, and you were like the only one who understood what I was going through or could help me through it. So funny enough, like my mom was there through my whole dating journey, and the person I would call wasn't a best friend. It was my mom, like, hey mom, like I met this guy on this app and I'm walking over there now to meet him. We'll see how it goes. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I think,
and I got so personally invested in these relationships that when you did break up, I was heartbroken for months.
yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing? But you know what? I'm glad I got to go through that with you.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because as you're getting to start exploring like your new life, the tables kind of flip, and now I get to hear your stories, and if you're on apps or things like that. So I know when I like tell these stories to my friends back from college, they're like, wow, like this is so different. You don't hear many relationships like ours. And so it's nice to have this and be able to even start this journey together, because we can dive on so many more topics too.
And it's funny you say that, because especially in the Indian community, there are not a lot of parents that have that relationship with their kids, but I am finding some of my friends that I do talk to, they want that relationship with their kids. And I'm finding that they are starting to open back slowly and little, and maybe they're, becoming more accustomed to the life here, the generational change and stuff. But I am finding people are wanting to be more closer to their kids.
Do you feel like I know this is a little off topic, but do you find a difference between individuals that are born in their native country and then come to the US later on in their life and how they are with their children versus someone like yourself, like you were born in the US, you grew up here, and how you raised your kids? Like, do you notice a difference between the two?
Absolutely. So being born here, I was trapped between the conservative generation of my parents and being the first one born in this country and being exposed to so many other cultures and different views and different religions and different foods and different ways of thinking, that it was really hard being that type of kid that was out there and open and everything, but then coming back home to conservative, or you couldn't date, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you had to do this. It was just a lot of rules, and it was really difficult. But I find that the people who come from another country and they come here, that I guess it's got to be hard for them too, because they themselves have to make that change, right? Like, especially if they're in their 20s and they come here, and like they went from being their way in their country to being here. So I guess it's a lot different. We'd have to interview someone to find out.
That's another topic.
Yeah.
But it is interesting you say that you felt that way with your parents, because so nanny means grandmother, so I call my mom's mom nanny. So there is a difference between how I can talk to nanny versus like how you can talk to nanny, and there is that generational gap, because like I can go to nanny and tell her about my dating life and my friends and who broke up with who and stuff like that, but you didn't grow up like that. So it's interesting to even see how nanny has evolved over the years and being here for decades now.
Yeah, she has definitely evolved, because I have to say I'm proud of her. She's going to be 84 years old. And when I went through what I went through with your dad last year, literally 2 months before her wedding, my mom said, you have two choices to make. You can shut your mouth and go back and take it, or you can leave. And my mom said, leave. And that was pretty brave of my mother to say, because she still has her cultural values. So I was very impressed with that. And yes, she is much more liberal when it comes to you guys and your dating and love lives than even mine. Even though I'm back at home living with her, it's still, I guess I'm her daughter, so it's a little different than with her grandchildren.
Yeah, I'm sure the daughter versus granddaughter and grandchildren relationship does make a difference, but hopefully we can smooth those edges and make it easier for you coming through your relationship. So going on to one of our next questions, did you ever feel like you had to protect us by sharing too much information? Did you ever have to be careful with what you can tell us, or certain topics, or even how much of a topic you can really dive into?
Depending on the topic, as you know, there are some things that I do keep quiet, because I know it will hurt people. So those topics I will keep quiet to myself. but exposing you guys to other things that I know didn't have a stake in the game of hurting someone, I was more than happy to share with you guys, even if it seemed like it was an inappropriate topic. I do have talks with your brothers about condoms, girls, and drugs. So yeah, and I am happy that they can come to me comfortably. They should. I'm their parent. I'm the I'm the number one person who has their back as a parent. So yes.
Funny, it's you probably have these conversations a lot more than I can even have these conversations with the boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, you did always like teach us that there is comfort in coming to a parent and being able to talk about different topics. And when like we were crying or you were crying, like it wasn't to be seen as weakness or that were being, or like any like stoop low or kind of that kind of thing. It was more of like you were just being vulnerable with us and showing us like, look, this is just life and we got to take it as we go, whatever the situation is.
Yeah. And I got to say, going through this, what we went through this last year with the divorce, I found myself almost being in a childlike position with you, where I would run to you and call you like a dozen times a day and look for comfort when you were going through your own heartbreak of losing what you lost in a father, right? But you still stepped up to the plate and did that.
Yeah, and it's funny that like I do have specific memories where I'm like, Mom, it's okay. Like it's gonna be okay. Life's gonna move on. Time heals, and a year from now, you're gonna be in a completely different situation. And
here we are.
Here we are, about a year from now.
Yeah.
So,
and I have found that I have grown to be much more independent, much stronger than I even was before. And I actually am relishing in my strength. And just doing this show has taken a lot out of me to like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And I'm like, what do I have to lose? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least I gave it a shot. I'll never say down the road, man, I should have done that.
Yeah. And I think it'll be fun to talk to different people, see what kind of lives are out there, and even learn, because I'm sure that will be a form of our therapy too. And really keeping ourselves open-minded. So it'll be fun to see where this journey comes, and you guys could follow along with us.
Yes. And if you guys have any comments, we'd love for you to share it with us. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please feel free to reach out to me, because I would love to interview as many people as I can.
And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment feed.
This is our first show, so we're still learning this way.
There. But if there's any topics that you want us to talk about, things that we could share with the community, please let us know in the comments too.
All right, I think that's a wrap, and thanks for joining us on our first episode of Beyond the Sugarcoat.
Thank you.
That was good.
That was good.